Don't worry about it, Anjay. Just keep praying. They're tanking me. I owe them about $45,000, but pray. All right, now, Acts 17:16 to 32, 31. Acts 17:16 to 31. You ready? Let's unpack this. Guys, don't stop manifesting. Stupid demonic bastards. I'll tell them the rules, they don't care. Now, while Paul was waiting for them at Athens, his spirit was being provoked within him as he was observing the city full of idols, because he knows behind every idol is a demon. Just like with you Catholic yet, he's demonized, full of Satan because he's double-minded, the spiritual bastard who can't even stay focused because he's full of doubts because he's demonized, he's mentally sick. May the Lord do a blessing on you and get an exorcism because you are double-minded. You're demonic, dude. You're not healthy. I can see it. Leave Christianity. It's not for you, buddy. Christianity is not for everyone. So he's reasoning in the synagogue with the Jews and the God-fearing Gentiles and the marketplace every day with those who happen to be present. And also some of the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers were conversing with him. Some were saying, what would this idle babbler wish to say? Others, he seems to be a proclaimer of strange deities. He's introducing us to foreign gods. Well, they would have known from the Jews that the Jews had their God, so they wouldn't have been surprised if he's proclaiming the God of Israel, right? But if he was proclaiming that Jesus is God, that would have taken them aback. Oh, so you're introducing another God? A God named Jesus, whom you said was killed and was raised physically? Because he was proclaiming the good news of Jesus and the resurrection. And they took him and brought him to the Areopagus, saying, may we know what this new teaching is, which you are speaking? For you are bringing some strange things to our ears, so we want to know what these things mean. Now, all the Athenians and the strangers visiting there used to spend their time in nothing other than telling or hearing something newer, just gossiping. The latest fad. These were the Jay Dyers of the first century. Alex Jones, psyop and conspiracy theories, right? Being lit up by the orbs. So Paul stood in the midst of the Areopagus and said, men of Athens, I observe that you are very religious in all respects. Notice he didn't start out with condemnation. You are idolaters, you are pagans, your gods are demons, your God is Satan. No, I see that you're religious because God has written in your heart the desire to worship, and he's written his law in your heart so you can seek him and worship the true God. But instead, that desire was manipulated by your sinful, corrupt flesh and Satan to worship others besides the true God. Okay? Focus, guys. Yeah, that's different, brother. Double-minded is not struggling with sin. Double-minded is you're doubting your faith, doubting whether you made the right choice. And this guy's demonic. He's demonized. He's a bastard of Satan until he repents. He's sick. I've been noticing it manifest. Now get the hell out of here, dude. Go to a priest, get exercise, or go find you another religion. Disgust me, man. Anyway, verse 23. So it's not the first time I rebuked him. I rebuked him the other day. I don't know, Sam. My gay fantasy is that you would be my teacher. Get the hell out of here, dude. Are you Buddhist yet? Change your name. Here, 23. For while I was passing through and examining the objects of your worship, I also found an altar with this inscription, to an unknown God. Therefore, what you worship in ignorance, this I proclaim to you. Now notice he acknowledges that even the pagans were aware there is a God beyond the gods they worship, even though they didn't know much about him. And he acknowledges they are worshiping this God, but they don't know how to worship him properly because they don't know his nature fully and perfectly. Right? You with me there? We got it? Now, what does Paul say up until the point they received the message? The God who made the world, so he sent me, so you can now know him and not be ignorant. And all things in it, since he is Lord of heaven and earth, does not dwell in temples made with hands, nor is he served by human hands as though he needed anything. since he himself gives to all people life and breath in all things. He made from one man all of you from one blood, every nation of mankind, inhabit all the face of the earth, having determined their appointed times and the boundaries of their habitation. He determined where you would live and when, for one purpose only, not to get rich or famous. Why did God appoint me to be born 72 in Kuwait and then come to America? For one purpose only. You are born, the time you were born, and the place you were born, for one purpose only, that you would seek God. In other words, when you ask me, what happens to those who don't hear? God has not placed people in situations so that they remain ignorant. And the proof that he makes his existence known, how? Through creation, the complexity of creation, causing you to ask the question, where did this come from? And when your heart convicts you when you do something wrong, even though you don't have the written law, the proof that God has made himself known to the world. How would the Athenians know there's a God out there and have an altar to honor him, to appease him, if God hadn't convicted them in order to realize there's a God beyond your gods? Seek me. I think that he's your gay lover, right, Mary? That he prostitutes you to the Shia? Okay, everyone got it? The fact that they have an altar to an unknown God demonstrates the truth of what Paul said. You may not know him as he is, but you know he's there. Otherwise, you wouldn't have an altar to him. Why? Because God puts you in such a situation so that you would realize there's a power beyond this that brought this into being. And when you cry out for him, he will make himself known. See? So why do you live, when you live, and where do you live? For one purpose and one purpose alone, to know God made you because he loves you and wants you to know him, and that he now desires that you cry out and grope for him in order to find him, even though he's not far from you. He can't be far from you because he's the one sustaining you. He's the one giving you life. He's the one preserving you. If he was far from you, you couldn't exist. You understand? Do you understand the logic of Paul right here? Okay, now what does he say that's relevant to what I'm saying? For in him we live and move and exist. He sustains us. He is the being whose pure existence, without whom nothing would exist. And even some of your own pagan poets realize the truth about God. Right? For we also are his offspring. Now, you know what? Because that you demonic yet, that bastard, had he watched my series, but he's a stupid satanic bastard, he doesn't, and he barks. Do you know that Paul right here quoted two pagans? This statement, in him we live and move and exist, was said about Zeus. And did you know that Paul right here, when he says, as one of your opponents, he's quoting a Greek poet, a pagan, who says we are the offspring of Zeus. Now, according to this stupid bastard, spiritual bastard, demonized, right, deranged, since Zeus is not really God, but Satan, that means Paul must have sinned for taking a statement about Zeus and applying it to God. See why I say you're a stupid, demonized bastard, double-minded, and you're sick, and you need to get out of my channel? You wonder why I get angry at you guys? I've already addressed this. Go watch the series. These are statements about Zeus, and I'll show it to you. But what did Paul do? He took what was said about Zeus. He took what was said about Zeus and he Christianized it, meaning it is true we have our being in him. It is true we are his offspring, not the offspring of Zeus. That's where you're wrong. We are the offspring of this unknown God who made all these so-called gods, because they're not really gods, but demons. See what he did? See what he did? You understand what he did? He took what was said about Zeus. Now, this is why, if I keep telling you, go rewatch my series, you don't, you're lost. Go watch all the sessions I did about the Roman Catholic Church, Eastern Orthodox Church, and Islam in response to Gay Friar and his ortho sisses who are manifesting and foaming at the mouth. But if you don't watch, then you're going to get stumped. Like, you a demonized bastard yet? Will get stumped because he's demonized. Really is. He's sick. He's not stable. He's not healthy. May God set you free and heal you because you're sick. So you got to stay away from my channel because you're going to cause me to stumble. All right? So when we continue, being then the offspring of God, we ought not to suppose that the divine nature is like gold or silver or stone. God's nature is incomparable. It's unlike anything in creation. Image formed by the craft and thought of man. You can't imagine the nature of God. There's nothing comparable to it. Now here's the key. Therefore, having overlooked the times of ignorance. You see? Up until this time, God knew your situation, your circumstances, your state. And therefore, God will only hold you accountable for the light you have been given. But if you don't know any better, he won't hold you accountable for what you do not know. That's why this ignorance of God, he was patient and had mercy with you and tolerated your ways. Right there, I didn't write it, Paul wrote it. Because he has a fixed day in which he will judge the world in righteousness through a man whom he determined, having furnished proof to all by raising him from the dead. Now, we understand what he's saying. When do you become accountable? When the revelation has been given to you in a clear, undiluted manner. Hence, vincible versus invincible ignorance. Right there. Right? Do you see when you'll be accountable? Once the message has been presented in an undiluted, clear fashion and your objections have been removed, heart's convicting, you have no excuse not to repent. I don't want to move on if you don't see it. Until then, it says God overlooked your ignorance. Because God sees and knows what you don't. He knows whether this person, had he been given the gospel, would accept. Why? Because he sees what he's doing with the little light he's received. What do I mean? If you find someone who doesn't know the gospel clearly or who Jesus is, but is seeking to live a morally upright life and is trying to honor the God that he believes is there, chances are that's the kind of person that when he hears the gospel will accept. God knows that, I don't. But when you see someone who's living, even according to the own standards of his culture, an immoral life, unruly life, godless life, right? That may imply that this is the kind of person that even if he had the gospel, he wouldn't accept. You understand? See, God knows all variables. He's an infinite mind. I don't. Because it doesn't mean if they heard the gospel, they would believe, right? But it doesn't mean if they heard the gospel, they reject. So does God know all variables? Yes. Does God see how they respond to that little light? And then knows that if they were given more light, they would submit or reject? Yes. So God will not punish them for what they do not know. He will hold them accountable for what they did know and how they responded to it. You see? So when you have Japanese who did become Catholic and they were murdered, that means the murderers show that they will not accept the gospel. So God, knowing that, could justly punish them, knowing that these are the kind of people, they are stiff-necked and will not bow the knee to Christ if the gospel is presented to them, and then hold them accountable for the way they live with the light they've received, and acquit or judge them, right? when you have the Japanese who convert, that means God would have known these are the kind of people who are predisposed that they would accept the light of the gospel. And yet those who murder them, these are the kind of people who are predisposed to reject the light of the gospel, and therefore on that basis knows their circumstances, their situation, and then will judge them according to the light they did receive and how they responded. You see, it's not simple yes or no, black and white. Only someone who's stupid, illiterate, stubborn, and or demonized thinks it's easy black and white. No, it's not. It's complex. This is a complicated topic. Too many variables involved. We got it? Too many variables. That's why you trust God with their judgment. Like Abraham said, shall not the judge of all the earth do what is right? Of course he will. Leave it to God. Too many variables. So you guys who think you figured out, you guys are nothing but demonic, demonized, arrogant, spiritual bastards who are not healthy and double-minded because you don't learn. Like you, a demonic Buddhist bastard yet? Make me sick, you guys, man. Right? So shut up, listen. Shut your pie hole, listen. Too many issues involved when you are the leader of what the world perceives, the oldest church and the biggest church. Your actions affect other Christians, whether you like it or not. But it's easy for you when you live in mommy's basement and getting welfare because you don't want to work, because you live in mommy's basement, playing Xbox, manifesting because you're mentally deranged. You a demon yet? Talking about you. It's easy for you to sit in judgment because you think you got to figure it out. Low life. Stupid. I corrected you one time, but you don't accept correction. Get the hell out of here. Titus 3, 10 to 11. And you wonder why I get angry. Yep, it is. Okay, now we got the point. Do I have to repeat this? I hope you still find this beneficial. Now, what's the proof that Paul was quoting statements by pagans talking about Zeus and applied it to God? All you need to do is get you a good study Bible, like your St. Ignatius study Bible. If you have it, guys, go to Acts 17:28. Open it up.